It's just 12:05, so your big duty is as chair to call the meeting to order as president. So if you would do so, then we will get on our way.
Okay, very good. So I am happy to call the meeting to order for our quarterly board meeting, all hands on.
Thank you so much, Linda. So I know that people will continue to join, but I think I have everybody here that I need to present reports from committees. So we will forge ahead. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Colleen Ryan. I'm the Consulting Executive Director for the New York State CDFI Coalition. We are so glad that you could join us for our all hands Zoom today. In addition, this is a quarterly meeting of the New York State CDFI Coalition, so we will have a bit of board business to take care of before we get into the heart of the program. These all hands Zooms were developed for CDFI executives, but we do have a number of special guests on the call today. So here's an elevator soundbite of what New York State Community Development Financial Institutions, or CDFI. We provide financial services and education for low-income New Yorkers. We leverage federal and private dollars for economic development. We have market-based solutions that provide capital to chronically underserved communities across the state. And we promote alternatives to predatory loans. And I'm just going to mute if everyone is muted now, I think, so we don't have interference. So that should make things better. Since 1995, the New York State CDFI Coalition has been the organizer and catalyst for strategic initiatives that help CDFIs and the communities they serve. The coalition provides a collective voice, allowing our members to stay locally focused while delivering the impact that's associated with increased scale. So before I introduce our speaker, we have some quick board business. I promise we'll keep it snappy. We have 3 reports this quarter: finance, membership, and nominating. We'll use the honor system for voting, so please only vote if you have paid your 2022 membership dues to the New York State CDFI Coalition. There's nothing controversial, so this should be just fine. First, please welcome the coalition's treasurer, John Felton of the Southern Chautauqua Federal Credit Union. John. I'm going to ask you to unmute, John. That's better.
I have to admit, I was multitasking and missed a little bit. Is this the treasurer's report?
It is, John. It's all you. This is your time for your close-up. Have at it.
Okay. All right. Apologize for that. Colleen has supplied to me the treasurer's report. I have reviewed it and I don't see any issues that warrant any kind of discussion.
And again, I need a copy of our bill for 244 150 North Division Street.
Okay.
Apartment. The owner's meter.
I'm not sure that this is not the owner's meter.
And I'm in my account.
Okay. Sorry about that, John.
That's okay. And Colleen, if you can help me, did we supplied that out to the board members?
Yeah, I did not yet, but I will do so.
Okay. So then if anyone, once they've had a chance to review it, please let me know and we'll have.
John, if you would just quickly go through the top lines that I provided you. I think it was just 3 bullets. So just, I can do it if you like.
Yeah, because I was actually searching for the email and not finding it.
Okay. So the bank account was reconciled on September 3rd and the balance is $107,000, give or take. Our sponsorship income for 2022 remains low, primarily because we haven't had many events to sponsor. Traditionally, we have our annual meeting in person, and we haven't done that in 2 years. As I firm up fall programming events, I'm circling back to our prior grant makers, and we'll try to get their commitments before their grant windows close for 2022. When the board looks at the budget versus actual numbers for this year, we have budgeted $45,000 for sponsorships, but that also included an expense of $25,000 for a conference. So we're not having a conference. So our nut to cover to make the budget whole is $20,000, and right now we have $10,000 received or committed. So I've got some work to do by the end of the year, but the good news is that our membership income is at 85% of budget, and that's $36,000 out of $40,000 in membership income. So we will have a report from the membership committee soon. And if anyone has questions for John, the treasurer, I urge them to address them to him.
Colleen, I appreciate your assistance.
Certainly. And if not, I know Linda is kind of in transit. So if I can just assume the mantle of calling for a vote, I would entertain a motion to accept the report of the treasurer. I need a so moved from one of our members.
The board members.
I just need somebody to unmute and say so moved.
So moved.
Thank you. And a second. Raise your hand even. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? Thank you very much. All right, thanks for that treasurer's report, John.
You're welcome.
And now we're still good because I had given till 12:15 for committee reports. So that was a little rocky, but we're going to do better with the next one. So membership committee, Melanie Stern from Springbank is going to give us a bird's eye view of membership.
Yeah, I'm gonna do this. I don't see my partner in crime, Aisha, here yet, so,
Well, she can't make it, Melanie. She's
Okay.
excused. Yep. She has
Great, okay.
her first board meeting with NFF, so.
Priorities, yeah.
Yes.
So, we have had a great year, but there are CDFIs across the state who are not yet members, so I'm hoping anybody on the call or anybody who knows a CDFI that is not yet joined, if you could reach out, that would be great. Exciting, we've had renewals from a bunch of folks that we may have not seen last year, but anyway, including Weddy in Buffalo, Greater Jamaica. I see Aaron on the call, Empire FCU, Cooperative Fund of New England, and Adirondack EDC. We have CDC of Long Island joined the nonprofit associate members category. We have our first emerging non-CDFI. Very exciting. That's via Todd Erling of the Hudson Valley Agribusiness Development Corp. Really looking forward to meeting you. And we have our very first for-profit associate member. That is, I believe it's In Place Auction, and Edward Castagna. So also looking forward to hearing more about that. There are 39 paid members. That's a record for 2022. As I said, that leaves about 40 CDFIs that we'd love to reach. As Colleen said, I have 34,000 against our 40,000 budgeted, but Colleen, if I heard you correctly, you said we have 36,000, which is great. So as I said, not too late to support the coalition with your membership. You can do it on the website, New York State CDFI, nyscdfi.org/join. And have to do a shout out to Colleen. There is so much going on the advocacy and support side, the fundraising side. So probably more than ever, joining the coalition is going to reap rewards and real benefits for everybody.
Thank you so much, Melanie. That report does not require a vote, but I do want to thank you for delivering it. And last but certainly not least, we have Greg Maher of Leviticus Fund, who will be providing the nominating committee report.
Thank you, Colleen. We did elect board members for 2022-2023 at our annual meeting in June, but we've had some staffing changes at member organizations since then. Before we go on to the two nominees, I wanted to congratulate Aisha, although she's not on the phone, but this will be recorded so she can go back and listen to this congratulations if she'd like. In her new role as CEO and president of NFF. It's really exciting for both NFF and a new challenge for her. The nominating committee would like to offer the following candidates for member consideration for the board. Brian Gursky, who I see is on the call from True Fund, is nominated to complete Aisha's term, which expires in June of 2023. And Alyssa Bard of Community Capital New York, who I see is also on the call, to complete Farshad Maltis's term, which expires in June of 2024. Colleen, would you like to handle the voting or would you like me to handle it?
I'd be delighted because traditionally our secretary, Nancy Karen of Bach, would advance the slate, but I don't see her on the call. So I will just advance that slate of candidates and ask for yes or no vote. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Welcome officially to the board, Alyssa and Brian. And thank you,
very
Greg,
much,
for
everybody. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
thank you. Thank you so much, Greg, for delivering that report. And thank you to all of our members, especially those who serve on the board. It's a thankless task, but we're delighted to have you. So now the CDFI Coalition is honored to host this briefing on two significant programs. And Ray Salaberrios, you should come back to your desktop if you are not here right now, if you took a little break. Ray Salaberrios is Senior Vice President, Small Business Capital Access at Empire State Development. He will be speaking with us about the New York State Seed Funding Grant Program, just announced on Tuesday, and the State Small Business Credit Initiative, SSBCI, which was reauthorized and expanded as part of the American Rescue Plan Act. I think everyone is muted, which is great. We will ask you to remain muted during the presentation, but we will have a Q&A period after Ray finishes his update. So please join me in welcoming Ray Salaberrios.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm sorry, good afternoon. Still lost a little track of time today. Thank you for the opportunity. Joe, it's good seeing you. It seems like we haven't seen each other quite some time now, have we? Let me start by thanking you again for the opportunity to present on two important initiatives that New York State is working on. See a lot of friendly faces. Folks haven't spoken in a while. Kim Jacobs is back in the house. That's really great to see you, Kim. And so Greg and Jules, obviously I owe you some calls, Jules, so we have to contact each other. So I can go on and on with everyone on this call and say individual hello. If I owe you a call, I'm sorry. If Todd Early is on this call, I owe you a call, I'm sorry. That is my lawyer who's calling me now because I told him I have to close on somebody. He hasn't done anything about closing, and now he's calling me. So, all right, so let's start with the $200 million seed fund program. And what we have done is we have issued another grant program, a $200 million seed fund program, where we're going to give grants anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000 for small businesses with revenues from $25,000 to $1 million. The idea is what we did is learn from some of the issues we had with the $800 million grant program, which is we're going to try to just make this as simple as possible. So I tell folks now, if you have a tax return, and if you start your business after September 1st, 2018, you'll be eligible for a grant. It's as simple as that, right? So you have to have a license to do business in New York State. So you just show us that you are, in fact, a licensed New York State business. You have your tax return, and you start your business after September 1st, 2018. We will give you a grant to cover expenses between September 1st, 2018 and January 1st, 2022. Now, I will send Colleen the guidelines and marketing materials so she can disseminate it to you folks individually. A lot of you I know, my team is probably sending you information now as I speak, because I told them, please send this information out to folks so that when they get on the call, a lot of them have it. If they haven't done it, you'll get it by the end of the day today for sure. The idea for us is to use our partnerships with the CDFI Coalition to get the word out to many of your small businesses, right? So that folks have an opportunity to apply and get through the process relatively quickly. It's an online application process. We're going to have marketing materials out at the end of the day today with a QR code. You can apply right from your phone. We have the EAC standing ready for those that need technical assistance with the application process. And so we believe this is going to be a very simple process and that the money will get out relatively quickly. So I'm telling individuals, I've been on these calls, I've been speaking to different coalitions and different chambers and saying, we need you to understand to get people to start applying immediately. All right, so now that's pretty much it. I'm ready to answer any questions on it because I think the best way to probably do this is to just answer questions because the guidelines are relatively simple. And if you don't have them, you will have them. I send them out to a bunch of folks. Colleen, I believe I did send you the guidelines with the press release. So you can disseminate them among your members. So hopefully everyone has the guidelines. If you have questions about the guidelines, I'm ready to answer those questions. Because again, we believe the way we set this up was so that if you did not get a grant from the $800 million grant program, you'll be able to get a grant from the $200 million grant program. And I do want to add in, once we finish the 200 seed fund program, some changes we made so that if you have individuals who did not get a grant from the $800 million grant program, we're going to go back and reach out to them and get them a grant, because we eliminated two of the main barriers that people felt were holding them back from getting a grant. So let's, if Colleen's okay with you, can we start? Anyone has questions, or how do you want me to handle this? Because I can go on talking, but I figure being a little more interactive will be beneficial to all of us. So $200 million grant program.
Go ahead, Melanie.
Ray, I just want to be sure I heard that correctly, that this has to be a business that started after 2018. Was that what you said?
Yes.
These are really started businesses. Okay.
Right.
Got it. Thank
So
you.
now, let me add on to that though. It is the name of the program, the Seed Fund Program, because one of the things we want to make sure is you may have started your business like in December and you may not have tax returns. So what we're doing is saying to you, okay, you're still eligible for a grant. We're going to have you attest to the fact that you have expenses. Tell us the amount of expenses you have, and we'll give you a grant of $5,000. The only requirement, go ahead.
One more related question. So if somebody started in 2019, had to shut down because of the pandemic,
They're good.
how would that?
They're good.
Thanks.
They're good. Like I said, what we want to do is learn from some of the issues that we had with the $800 million grant program. I think the key component is the one barrier, the one restriction is you have to be in business at least 6 months before you apply. That is the key component. You have to be in business at least 6 months before you apply. So if you, let's say for argument's sake, we are now in September, right? So theoretically, if you start your business in January, you're eligible, but you won't have a tax return. So what we're going to say to you is, okay, here's the attestation. Sign this attestation telling us that you have X amount of expenses, and we'll give you up to $5,000 just on that attestation. We're going to ask for bank statements, of course, to fund everything to a bank account. So you have to have a bank account in place. We will look to your bank account to see what kind of activity you have. But unless we think it's something egregious, you know, where we're saying, well, you're saying you got $5,000 in expenses, but you're only in business X, we may just ask you to verify those expenses. And the expenses that we will cover are expenses incurred from September 1st, 2018 to January 1st, 2022. So we're not gonna cover expenses if you just recently had them in 2022 after January 1st.
So Ray, is there any kind of needs test, or this is just based on being able to file paperwork?
This to be able to file the paperwork. That's it. The need is, we think at this point, with the $800 million grant program shutting down soon, that we're at $650 million and trending toward the full 760. So I'm telling you, we'll talk about that in a moment, that the $200 million grant program is sort of like a backup. You know, so we will have hopefully given out $960 million in grants, right? To what we believe are the neediest businesses in New York State.
I'm going to call on Warren Goodrich from Brooklyn Co-op Federal Credit Union, who has a question.
Thank you. Hey, Ray, question. I know you stated earlier, I'm not sure if I misheard you, but you said there had to be like a formal business. Does that preclude sole proprietors that don't have certificate, or do they, like there's sole proprietors that don't have a certificate? Can they still apply or no?
Well, what we did, we urged individuals. I'm sorry, you know what? I'm just gonna turn my phone off. Sorry, folks.
You're a popular guy, Ray.
Yeah, too popular at times. I don't want to be popular at this moment.
Oh my God.
So sorry, folks. This is like that's the story of my life all day. The phone rings, but it's okay. Warren, I'm going to get back to your question. So there is an issue with folks with sole proprietors. So as long as you have your DBA certificate, you're fine. But what we're going to require, if you don't have your DBA certificate, because we found out individuals don't want to go through that process, is you have to have an EIN number, right? Because the EIN number is relatively simple to get. And if you don't have your EIN number, but been been in business since September 1st, 2018, you're still good. We just need you to get that EIN number. And we're not going to fund a personal, a grant to a personal account. So all the credit union members, you know, if they don't have business accounts with you, get them to open business accounts, because that's the only way they'll get the grant funds.
So Ray, understanding that this is a finite amount of money and that
Right.
the portal just opened on Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh, today's Friday. That's
Do you
right.
have any, like, would you venture a guess on how long these funds might last? Or, I mean, obviously we CDFIs in New York State would want to be reaching out to our customers. But, you know, I mean, is this like, do we all have to drop everything and say you need to get your application in like by the end of the month because the money's going to run out?
I don't think the money will run out by the end of the month. Nor do I think everyone should just drop everything. But if you have the opportunity in your team to get the guidelines out and get the word out, that's what we're asking for. Right? I can't make an estimate as to when this money will run out. Right? It could take, it just depends on the application process. We do know that the application process is much simpler. Right? We do know that if the application process is simpler and we're asking for less documentation, there's a good chance the money will go out quicker. Now, how quickly, it just depends on how soon people begin just applying.
Okay, so Ray, appreciate this. Don't ever want to look a gift horse in the mouth. Don't ever want to be accused of that. But here's a situation where perhaps if we, the CDFIs, had been brought in earlier on this process, we could have, you know, made a plan, set aside some time, dedicated some staff to getting the word out, rather than right now, unfortunately, so many of our clients are so busy, you know, trying to keep a business going that they might not even see an email from us for 2 weeks. I'm really concerned that the people who need this kind of assistance most are the least able to take the time to fill out an application, no matter how simple it is.
Okay.
So just a humble request, to the extent that you can in the future, give us a heads up, you know, before the portal opens, so that we can reach out to those clients that we know are most deeply in need.
Well, then, yeah, I hear you, but it's very difficult for me to reach out to something that has not been approved yet. So I can't very well give you information to send out information, a program that was not approved. So I have to wait until the program is approved. So
Empire State on this one, a lot of us saw this going back. I know that, Aaron, I know you've sent this out, Bach has sent this out, we've sent this out. And Colleen, we should have notified you, no question. But in this case, unless anybody hears otherwise, we've seen information circulating on this one for quite some time.
But not the guidelines, though. The guidelines you haven't.
Right, but we gave people a heads up to watch.
Right. Good.
And again, look, there are individuals who may now also take advantage of the $800 million grant program, which is a richer program, right? Because as we talk about our grant program, what we did is that we have lifted some of the barriers, guidelines, guardrails, however you want to frame it, that precluded individuals from getting a grant from the $800 million grant program. Those guardrails have been lifted. So in essence, New York State now has over $360 million in grant funds available for individuals to apply. So I can get you the updated materials on folks who have applied and maybe want to apply again. If folks come to you and say, hey, I applied for the program, I heard I'm available, I got turned down. If you get an application number, you can send me the application number. And I'm telling you now, if you send me the application number, I'll make sure I send it out to the folks in the industry, say, reach back out to this individual and get them a grant. So Colleen, in a perfect world, you're right. In a perfect world, we would have got this information out to you months ago, right? We would have had this done months ago, but we all know we don't live in a perfect world. And the economic development world, sometimes there's a lot of nuances and fluctuation that goes on. So at this point, what I'm saying is we're up and running now. You know, let's just get the word out as much as we can and try to get as much of this money out to the small businesses that need it. Right. And so when someone says that small businesses are busy, I understand that. That's perfectly understandable. But we're going to do social media campaigns. We're going to get the word out. And because the application process is relatively simple, at some point, as you all know, we all deal with small businesses. At some point, that small business has to say, you know what, I want this grant. Let me put this down for a moment. Let me apply, and then let me get back to what I have to do.
So Ray, we had a question in the chat, and thank you.
Sorry.
And again,
Yes.
that's, I am not a CDFI, so I would not have gotten that correspondence. So thank you. I'm glad that the word had gotten out to the CDFI coalition. Will the application process, materials, et cetera, be posted on the website?
Yes.
I guess so. That's already there. How will applications be reviewed, and will this be on a rolling basis?
On a rolling basis, we're going to prioritize socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. So it is prioritizing social and economically disadvantaged individuals. And we keep in mind that it is not race-based, right? So if you are in a rural community, we're going to prioritize you, right? So if my small business for Chautauqua County, he's going to get prioritized. If you have a small business in Scarsdale, you'll get a grant, but you may not be the first person to get a grant. That's the reality, right? Because we want to make sure that the neediest businesses get them.
Even though it's not race-based per se, is there like an MWBE box to tick if you're MWBE certified?
Yes, there is. There
Okay.
is. So if you are, like, as anything, the algorithm is set such so that if there are certain characteristics we're looking for, right? We're looking for a distressed community. If you're in a distressed community, you're going to check that box, and that's going to help you be prioritized.
Okay.
And I have friends that live in Scarsdale, and I tell them, hey, you're not a distressed community. So you're going to be back, kind of lower at the end of the spectrum of getting a grant. But I know many of us deal with small businesses that are in distressed communities. So distressed community, MWBE, veterans, those are the ones we're prioritizing. So if you are a veteran in a distressed community, then you're going to be high on that checklist.
Okay, so we're talking about certain criteria here, distressed communities, MWBE, veterans, et cetera.
Right.
We have a question that says, Lendistry is listed as the administrator for this program. Does this impact in any way how borrower applicant data will be used or stored?
No, the data that's being taken, I've asked this question's been asked me before. The data that is being taken in by Lendistry will not be used for Lendistry by any other purpose. That is New York State's property. We have assurances, we have contracts in place. Lendistry, that data from the $800 million grant program is being shipped over to us. So you should not have a concern that Lendistry now has a database of individuals they can market to. That's our data. So no, the sharing of data would not be allowed.
Okay, if we are about 15 minutes into Ray's presentation, and I do want to leave some time for Q&A at the end. So if we don't have further questions on this new Seed Grant program, I'd love to transition Ray over to an overview of SSBCI and where we stand with that. Okay.
The State Small Business Credit Initiative, New York State was allocated $501.6 million. So I'm gonna do round numbers so we're on the same page. Approximately $200 million has been allocated for venture capital, $300 million for debt capital. I can have my colleague Jennifer Teagan talk to Colleen and come on board to make a presentation on the venture side of the SSBCI allocation. For my purposes, I'm only going to talk about the debt side. All right, so that we're clear that my focus on my team is only debt. And Jennifer's team on the venture side, obviously, is only focused on venture. Let's just focus on debt side. So we have programs that have been set up that the ones that are interest you, or we're looking to partner with you directly, right? And we'll go through all of them, but the ones I think are probably most interesting to you are the ones that we're just doing another rendition of an existing program. And we'll start with the Capital Access Program. So I know everyone's shaking their head, smiling. CAP there's a new rendition of capital access program. We have gotten rid of a lot of the bureaucracies. We have made it a lot simpler. I have told the team at ESD that at times I feel like a piñata because, you know, they are asking for things from you folks, but they're not telling us to tell you at the outset. So we framed this program now so that the reporting is quite simpler from our end, right? So we no longer require you to report in every time you enroll a loan. What we're going to do is do it on a quarterly basis. So we're going to say to you, here's your allocation, start enrolling loans, this is the documentation you need, and every quarter we'll do the evaluation and confirm that your loan is enrolled. But if there's anything that jumps out immediately, we're going to contact you. But the enrolling process is relatively simple. We're going to have trainings on it. I'm sure my team will come on this call, go step by step on what the process is to enroll loans. Now, I had sent the guidelines to Colleen. Some of you I've sent it individually. Hopefully you folks read the guidelines, because one of the main things I want the guidelines to show you is the reporting that is being required by the Treasury. Let's just say it's a little onerous, but it's not reporting required by New York State. But what we try to do is just say, okay, you have to report this in. So there's a bunch of documents that you'll see it's in the guidelines, but as we go circle around and send you information about the programs, we're also going to send you the reporting requirements. I'll give you an example. The Capital Access Program and the Small Business Revolving Loan Fund were approved yesterday by the Board of Directors. So Monday morning, everyone on this call is going to have a Small Business Revolving Loan Fund loan agreement, and everyone's going to have the Capital Access Agreement. The idea is, let's get it out there, folks, look it over, and let's start rolling. Let's get everyone signed up and get the programs up and running. The Capital Access Program amendment is the same one you had last time. The only nuances are the requirement of reporting. CAP as a program really hasn't changed, but the reporting requirements that the Treasury is requiring from participants has changed. I know there was little controversy about ARIS. Not sure why the controversy came up, but we never had intended to use ARIS. We thought that requirement, it was never a requirement. It says we may do it, but we say, why would we do that? These are our partners. I don't need a reporting agency to tell me that True Fund does a good job. I don't need a reporting agency to tell me that Springbank is someone we should be partnering with. So I know there was a little uproar about that. We spoke to legislators, they were happy. We never had the intention of including ARIS as part of a requirement. In fact, the only thing you have to be is a certified CDFI. Your license has to be in place. As long as you're good with the Treasury, you're good with us. So Small Business Revolving Loan Fund, Capital Access Program, those two programs, we're ready to go. Again, we're going to start sending out the information to you Monday morning. My hope is that you folks will look through it and quickly say, we're good, so we can start the closing process for the Small Business Revolving Loan Fund and for the Capital Access Program. There's money there. We're not going to run out of money. We have a lot of money to give out, to lend out. Small Business Revolving Loan Fund, capital cost is going to be 1%. Right? So if you think about that, you're probably not going to get 1% capital anywhere at this point in time. CDFI credit unions, you probably won't be able to participate in the Small Business Revolving Loan Fund because the Treasury has made a determination that depository institutions will not be able to participate in the Small Business Revolving Loan Fund. So we're only going to work with non-depository CDFIs. There's a requirement, and you can read it. There's a certain percentage. If a certain percentage of your business as a depository institution is not taking deposits, then you can qualify. But that's a nuance that doesn't make any sense. It'll be in the guidelines. I'll send everyone the information, and depository CDFIs, Jules, for the Small Business Revolving Loan Fund, it might be problematic, but they can make the determination themselves if they fit, if their organization fits within the criteria. We can't make that determination. We can only tell you this is what you need to fit into the Small Business Revolving Loan Fund. Everyone on this call will be eligible for CAP.
I'm so sorry, I didn't understand. So banks and credit unions cannot apply except if.
There's a requirement, how much of your business is not taking in deposits. They tied it into deposits. So again, the guidelines will go out, you'll see the information. I just want to highlight that for the Small Business Revolving Loan Fund, the majority of our participating CDFIs will be non-depository CDFIs. But CAP allows everyone to participate. And if you have the guidelines now, you can look at the guideline, I think it's page 36, that goes through the explanation as to why they're limiting non-depository, depository CDFIs participation in receiving capital for us via the Small Business Revolving Loan Fund. Now, so those two programs are the major programs that we're working with CDFIs. We can work, and are we good? Am I going too fast? Am I talking too much? I'll stop for a second, take a breath.
Why don't we see if anyone has questions right now, based on what Ray has already told us?
No. Ray? So you said that you enroll the CAP loans quarterly. I think all of us have unfortunately at one time or another had a loan that almost instantly went bad for whatever reason. Are you still going to allow us to say we made a loan in January, we don't enroll them until March, and by then we're already having difficulties with the borrower? Is that loan going to be allowed to be registered as a CAP loan?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. All we're asking, we're not going to just randomly disallow enrollments of loans. All we're asking is that there are 4 documents you have to submit. Did you get the borrower to sign these documents? Right, and we did. We're good. I think what we've done, what I told my team is, I want to stop some of I should parse my words correctly. I want to make sure our relationship improves so far as CAP is concerned. Right, a lot of it had to do with ESD, so I can control some of that by saying to myself, why don't we just make this easier for folks to enroll loans? Right, I think that's the start. So we've done that. Now, the Treasury has said, but wait a minute, I know you want to make it easier, but let's give them a bunch of reports to give us. Okay, I can't control that. You'll see that there's a bunch of documentation the Treasury is requiring. It's not that difficult, it's just a lot of it, that's all. Is that good, Kim?
All right, Ray, it is getting on towards quarter one, but we would be remiss if we didn't ask about the elephant in the room, the possibility of round 2 funding on the CDFI, Excelsior, underbanked, whatever we're calling it, the 25 million, first $5 million tranche went out, and we're still waiting with bated breath to see if there's going to be another tranche.
Okay, so I knew you were going to ask that question.
I know you knew I would.
All right, and so the answer is yes. That's it. As simple as that. I have gotten assurances from the Department of Budget that we are ready to go with the next $5 million.
In this calendar year or in 2023?
Well, let me take a moment and tell you about this calendar year, where we're at. So for the unbanked initiative, which we're calling it, there were 32 CDFIs, 32 participating organizations. 3 of them, which I'm not going to mention who they are, have not submitted the initial documentation that they needed to get the initial grant. So they have not gotten it, and there's a question about how we're gonna handle that. The balance of the CDFIs all have received their initial payment. Your final report is due October 31st, as per the contract. So once we get the final reports in and we review reports, we will begin the process of the next round of grants. New York State would not allow us, as you know, CDFI recipients, to proceed with one program until we close the other one. So at this point, what we're thinking is, okay, I mean, it's very clear that October 31st is the date you need your final reports. So hopefully people are working on their final reports. If they're not, they should start working on their final reports. Get the documentation to us. We'll review the final reports. We'll give DOB the thumbs up, we're good to go. And then we'll start the process of the next round of the CDFI Unbanked Initiative.
Okay, I have one
Ray,
question. Oh, go ahead.
Ray, a question. So we know from our conversations in the coalition that people got those grants at very different, they got their funding very different times. At Springbank, we're good with that schedule. We got our
Good.
grant pretty early, but how does that apply to people who did not get theirs?
Sure. I'm gonna be clear. I've heard this before, and so there are some CDFIs who, yes, they got their grant funds late, but they did not submit the documentation on time. They didn't give us all we needed. All right, and so we can't issue a grant if we didn't get the documentation we needed. Some of you know, I'm not gonna mention anyone, we were on calls, where is this? Where is this? Oh, it's coming, it's coming. So we're like, okay, well, we can't do anything until we get, but now, as far as I know, only three CDFIs of yet have not even submitted the initial documentation to get the first grant.
Okay, so here's the burning question, Ray. Is everyone else going to be held up because of the 3 bad actors?
No, absolutely not.
So when it comes to October 31st, the people who submit the reports. There's still 3 people hanging out there who haven't put in even their initial applications. Are you willing to close the window and say, guess what? Time's up. You didn't get it. Everybody else has done their work. You know, it's like the group project, right?
Right.
I don't want to flunk because somebody wasn't holding up their end.
Unfortunately, there will be 3 CDFIs that would not be happy with me.
Okay.
Because I've already made that decision. I am not going to hold up closing this program because 3 CDFIs who we've been calling and constantly in contact with have not submitted rudimentary information. So the answer is no.
Okay,
we're going to proceed. We're going to move forward.
That's good news. Now, the other question is from the group. Do we expect similar funding levels? I mean, in other words, if we're working with the universe of $5 million, are we going to be looking at the same? I think there were like 4 different, some people got X, some people got Y, some people got Z. Will it be broken down in a similar fashion?
I can't answer that. We will have to see. I think for us, the most important thing is, well, what did we do? What did we accomplish? Because everyone told the state of New York, this is what we're going to do. Did they accomplish that? I don't think we're gonna withhold money from anyone. But we are gonna say, well, if you told us you're gonna do something, you didn't do it. So our next time around, are we gonna really adhere to the same responses? So I think that you all have a good track record of doing what you said you're gonna do. So I don't think that's gonna be an issue.
I mean, honestly, Ray, so many of the CDFIs that applied had already done the work and then some before they finally got funded. So I don't think that's.
Colleen, I don't buy that. Colleen, I would stop with that right there. This is totally different from the initial CDFI finance program. This was getting people banked, right? This is what this program was about. So we'll see how many people got banked, what the process was. I don't want to mingle the normal CDFI assistance program with this initiative, which is brand new, which asks for different metrics and different results. So I think it's prudent for all of us to just, let's see what happens. I'm very confident. I'm I'm confident that everyone's gonna get their money. It's just that as we go to the next stage, are we going to have the same metrics? Maybe not. That's something for the legislature to decide. And we have to get the report in from you folks, and we're going to take that report and we're going to say, this is what we accomplished. We may tweak it a little bit. I think it's probably going to be the same, but ultimately what we want to do is get folks who are marginalized in the financial services industry who don't have bank accounts. And there's still, keep in mind, 25% of New Yorkers don't have bank accounts, right? So what we want to do is make sure we continue in helping to narrow that wealth gap, right? So, because you cannot attempt to narrow the wealth gap that currently exists in our country if we don't introduce folks into the financial services industry. It's very difficult for you to narrow a wealth gap if you don't have a checking account, if you don't have an ATM card, if you don't have a credit card, if you don't have any banking services at all. So my goal,
Right, couldn't agree more.
My goal is this. I want to narrow the wealth gap. Yes, ma'am.
That sounds terrific. But
Good.
Go ahead, Kim.
Thanks.
Ray, it's been a while since I read that, and as you know, I'm retired, so I haven't reviewed it recently. But I'm wondering if the umbrella for this program did include, or in the future could include, also a focus on credit building, because that, if you're talking about wealth gaps, that is an important component, a really essential component. It's not just about being in the banking system, but also being in the credit system. If you're not in the credit system, as you well know, you are shut out of so many things, and you pay higher prices for things than people with good credit do. So I don't know how much influence you can have sort of on the focus of this program, but I think adding credit building to it is really the other side of the coin.
Well, I'm a little nervous, Kim, that you are talking about something that I have said, we got to address this coming up. So are you looking at my notes? Is someone giving my information to you? Because she's right. The first time around, we did not include credit building, right? We just said, let's get bank accounts. But now we realize that being part and trying to narrow that wealth gap is showing people how important it is to keep your credit score where it needs to be. And how do you improve your credit? So I think the first stage, this is the first time we did it. I appreciate what everyone's done. I think so far, hopefully the reports will show that what we want to do was correct, was work with CDFIs, who for us are the backbone of the New York State financial economy, so that we can continue our growth and go from there with the wealth gap building.
That's great. I just put a call out for any final questions for Ray because it is 12:53.
Sure. This is Delia from INHS, and we're a CDFI. I would just make a pitch also that access to innovative and flexible mortgage products like those that would allow people with Section 8 to buy is a huge hole in the market. So, and in terms of wealth building, it's very important to be able to get people into a good, safe mortgage rather than a predatory mortgage.
Right. So Delia, again. So obviously, I don't know how everyone's reading my notes. Delia, you should reach out to me directly because that's something we want to talk to about the CDFIs that deal with housing. Right? That's
Ray,
probably not going to be part of this.
Moles everywhere.
Right. So I'm like, Delia, I said, wow, this is amazing that these two issues, credit building and housing, have come up when we were going to surprise folks to say we're going to start doing these things now. So let's keep our conversations. What I do want to commit to is to try to come more on the calls more often, right? So that no, I'm committed to you now. I'll make a point to come on the calls more often. I'll work with Colleen and to make sure so that we keep you abreast of what we're doing, especially with SSBCI. You know, I know we got to run. We have contractor financing programs, as True Fund knows very well. We have bonding programs. There's a whole technical assistance side of SSBCI that's coming forward. There are so many things we're working on that I can't get to all of them in 1 hour. Joe, I love the conversation we had about helping fund cooperative to take over cooperative businesses. So there's so many things that we want to do. There's no way I can do it just on one call.
Understood.
So
All right,
Yep.
Ray, well, I'm going to reserve the last 5 minutes for us to talk amongst ourselves, but
Okay,
please, everyone, join me in thanking Ray Salaberrios from Empire State Development for joining us today. Really appreciate it. And I hope you have a great weekend, Ray.
I hope so too.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Ray.
guys. Take care.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you.